Hi, this is Freedom Vlogs. Day 1 month and 10 days freedom from the narcissist. Just another thing of thought, because narcissists are trying to take away thought, aren't they? Either on the individual level or on a they're trying to take away freedom of thought and speech on a individual level and on a societal level. You know, the postmodernist, neo-Marxists, they're all narcissists. And here's something that maybe this lady can answer. What's her name? Damn, I forget her name. So she talks about narcissistic rage in this, but it's the beginning thing that she talks about now and again, and some others talk about. That gets me, and I'll explain.
I want to skip over this particular video because I guarantee it will be triggering. It's in a one-party consent state, which gives you the legal right to record a conversation as long as you are taking part in the conversation. If you are easily triggered by situations that may remind you of what you have gone through,
see, that's something I'm not quite understanding on, the triggered thing, because the triggered thing is what the neo-Marxist, postmodernist, narcissistic people use for their own narcissistic needs when, for their fake when they pretend to have their feelings hurt when they're not really, to fool their victims. That's what they that's why they invented the safe space for their narcissistic egos. And she's using it in a very different context. She's using it for people who are escaping narcissism, which I find very confusing. Such as people like myself. I can see how, unless the narcissist took it from the... because that's what they do. They take stuff and turn it to use against their opponent. They took it to mean something else, while it has genuine context for us who are escaping narcissism, versus the narcissist that use it where it has no genuine help for them in the overall, because they're keeping themselves tied into in their own little world, in their own little box. They don't want to expand their knowledge. They just want to cause chaos. So yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting.
I want to skip over this particular video because I guarantee it will be triggering.
I can see people who are really sensitive not wanting to listen to it, but most people who survive as a narcissism will want to listen to this to improve their knowledge, because that's what most empaths want to do. On the subject of their abuse, to better avoid it, to gain more understanding of it. This is what I mean when it's reversed for manipulation purposes by the narcissist.
Am I supposed to comfort them and make sure that they are insulated away from this? Like, is that what the point of this is? Because to me, that is so against what a university is about. So against it. I was not taking sides. I was presenting both arguments. So I don't see how I'm doing a disservice to the class by exposing them to ideas that are really out there. And I'm sorry I'm crying. I'm stressed out because this to me is so wrong. In a university, all perspectives are valid.
But not if it's taken over by narcissists. Because snowflake narcissists got triggered. See what I mean?
That's not necessarily true.
I don't see what's transphobic about showing a video of Jordan Peterson. He's a real person. He's out there.
He is a real person, but he is a real person who has engaged in targeted behavior of...
It's only their false belief that they're projecting onto others why he would say that. It's not true in nature, it's not true in reality, it's only true to the narcissistic ideology that is brainwashing the children in both high school, in the schools and the universities. And this is... And she... I know on an individual level you're supposed to not take it seriously because that's what the narcissist wants. The narcissist wants you to cry about it. The narcissist wants you to react to it. And she's crying. So the narcissist has got what they wanted. Kind of. But it's slightly different in this case.
Trans students, like, giving out their personal information so that they will be attacked. But this is like neutrally playing a speech by Hitler or Milo Yiannopoulos from Gamergate.
What's kind of funny is I disagree with Jordan Peterson. I disagree. I don't think I gave away any kind of political position of mine. I remained very neutral. And,
that's kind of the problem.
Okay, I wanted to blow my own brains out, but here we have them both. Dr. Jordan Peterson, you can follow him on Twitter. You know who he is. And, of course, Lindsay Shepherd. Her Twitter, for people who don't know, is @NewWorldHominin, HOMININ. Thank you both. Have you spoken at length before?
It's funny how the narcissist hates truth. So when they see truth like Dr. Peterson, they don't like it because it's foiling against their reality, their false reality, their hypocrisy. And that's why the poor teacher had these things happen to her.
This is your first meeting.
first meeting.
Yep, it's the first. We've communicated very briefly by email, but only in a few sentences. Lindsay contacted me just before the story was broken in Canada by Christy Blatchford.
Okay. Well, this is so. There we go. This is the first. We got an inside skinny there.
Just to point out, I don't agree with everything Dr. Peterson says. Like the way to handle the narcissistic society that's trying to take over, well, is sort of taking over the world. He's going about it the wrong way, and because I've seen all the faults in his teachings, and I wouldn't say all faults, I'd say all the pros and the cons, and I know where it's going to go wrong, because I was doing what he was teaching subconsciously before he was teaching it to his students, and I didn't even know I was doing it at the time. And then I found out I was doing that, and also I was doing a better job than what Dr. Peterson was trying to tell the others to do.
Not gonna take. Lindsay, first off, I want to make it very clear because I don't want to create any sort of guilt by association. Sorry, Dr. Peterson, I don't mean that you're guilty. But Lindsay,
Thanks,
you
Stephen.
don't.
That's really impressive.
Yes. Lindsay, you don't agree with Dr. Peterson on many of his views, correct? You just showed a video that happened to include him.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I think it's like with everyone. We agree with some of what they say and disagree with some of it.
And then, Dr. Peterson, what was your reaction to being compared to Hitler and or Milo Yiannopoulos?
Well, I would say it's one of those watershed moments, Stephen. So once you're compared publicly to Hitler, that's pretty much as far as the insults can go. So you know what I mean? I've kind of hit a pinnacle of
Yeah, the narcissist always projects what they're like onto others. So when they say Hitler and anti-Semitic, that's what they actually are supporting and projecting onto them. Because they were even calling what was his name? Gad Sad, who was Jewish. They were calling him a Nazi. And he escaped persecution from Lebanon for being a Jew, and you can see how the narcissistic postmodernist Marxist movement is projecting their stupidity onto others, or projecting their stupidity and blaming it on their victims, just like on an individual level with a narcissist that I had. Yes.
epithet targeting, I would say, or
Yeah,
something like
Milo's not much of a tag. It's like, you're just like Hitler.
And Milo. Yeah.
Lindsay,
Yeah.
did you expect this going in? Because you were recording. Obviously, some people will say this was a setup. You know, that's what happens with the internet. Just like people saying we set up this Alexa situation. What did you think going into this meeting?
So I never thought that you could get in trouble for showing something that was on TV Ontario, which is a public broadcaster, and especially because it wasn't like a monologue of Dr. Peterson's. I mean, there was multiple people talking.
There you go again. Anything that opens up the mind and makes you think outside the box, the narcissist doesn't like. So when the narcissist in the room complained about it, or even, as she said, the students wouldn't actually complain about it, it was probably just the faculty board messing with her. That was the narcissist. You know, they just don't like truth, and they will do anything to stop it, just like on an individual level.
In the clips that I showed. And so it was really shocking that someone took serious offense to that. And so when they sent me an email summoning me to a meeting, and they said that there's going to be an official from the Diversity and Equity Office there, I thought, okay, well, I think they're going to be ridiculous. So if they are, then I need to have proof of it happening.
Now, what made you think they were going to be... Oh, go ahead, Dr. Peterson. I'll just more this. I'll mediate.
Lindsay, that's one thing I've been really curious about, is the fact that you were inclined to record this is something that I don't know if people have delved into with enough depth. I mean, because I wouldn't say that that's exactly a natural response to being called forward because of behavior in the class. Like, what were you thinking about exactly? Obviously, this is not an accusation of any sort. It's not. I'm just wondering what really compelled you to take the steps to defend yourself, potentially defend yourself in that manner. Like, why were you thinking that this might be sufficiently dangerous?
Good question.
So that you would need taped evidence?
I mean, I'm familiar with the environment of universities, and especially in arts and humanities programs. And so it really was just the email that said Diversity and Equity Official. And I thought, you know, if they're going to make accusations against me, which they ended up doing, they ended up accusing me of violating, like, a human rights code, right?
Federal and provincial.
Yes.
For
and the
Americans who don't know,
universities-
provinces are a lot like states, only a little sillier. Continue.
Yes, and also I violated the university's gendered violence and sexual assault policy.
Yes,
Now,
and
can you
you
tell
know-
us how? How? Because a lot of people watching, I've read the article, we've written about it at louderwithclatter.com, but how did you violate the sexual assault policy?
Because by proxy of showing Dr. Peterson's views, I created a transphobic environment and legitimized transphobia, which makes me transphobic.
Okay. Dr.
And
Peterson.
Stephen, I don't know if you know or not, but there's been there was a tremendous uproar in Canada over this event, and I would say almost all of it, let's say, favorable to Lindsay. But there's been a backlash in recent days as the radical leftist types reorganize, and she has now been accused by a fair number of people, and correct me if I'm wrong, Lindsay, of actually being...
Oh, sorry, there's some sound coming. By the way, Lindsay's being very accommodating, and she's in a public space right now. So this is new media, baby. Let's go with it. Continue. It's okay.
Well, Lindsay has now been accused of actually being the perpetrator of this event and of targeting an innocent, racialized, pre-tenure professor and creating an unsafe space on Wilfrid Laurier campuses. That's the new leftist narrative. And as well, Stephen, the other part of the story is that the administrator,
which is a space for narcissists, or people who are brainwashed by bigger narcissists to think that they're in the right, because it's controlled by the neo-Marxist mind thought, so therefore it's not based in logic or reason.
I think Lindsay rightly identified in a tweet as the primary agent of danger in this entire affair, has the what would we say?
Dr. Peterson, Hitler was such an orator. Where you must find words.
Yeah, well, it's hard to find the right words to describe how ridiculous this is.
I know.
Anyways, the point is that Lindsay has been now outed as a racist, I think.
Yeah, I have it right here. This actually comes from the Now Toronto. Marginalized students, meanwhile, have been left with the perception that Laurier will not support them or their professors and staff. In their struggles against oppression, Laurier needs to fight that perception. It's true. Lindsay, sorry, Dr.
But the Marxists' oppression isn't really oppression. It's nothing. It's just a lie they tell themselves to build up the narcissistic ideology so they can have a ground to infiltrate and destroy reason and logic.
So we have some time, so as long as you two can be here, we want to get through this. Lindsay, what is that accusation that you specifically targeted a racialized group? Because again, I'm still trying to make sense of this, and I reported on it.
Yeah, I never attacked a racialized group. Is that in that article? I couldn't get through that Now Toronto article. I mean, they called me an alt-right hero.
I think that's where the narcissist gets their supply. They go, oh wow, they're eating this up. The media thinks that she's this and that, targeting a racialized group, when the narcissist has made it like that, so he gets a kick, or the narcissist ideology gets a kick every time she gets put down for something she didn't really do. Ah, bloody narcissist, huh?
It's because it's as far as I can tell, and this is from reading the Medium.com.
That's it. It's called narcissistic supply, and they do that on an individual level as well. Demean, devalue, and destroy. The 3 Ds that the narcissist does, and that's what they did to this lady. And they're doing to tons of other people.
Article written by a
That's another
PhD
one, yeah.
student at York. The issue is that you've been using something approximating your white privilege and your white women's tears to oppress a racialized pre-tenure professor, and that makes you the perpetrator in this story. That's basically the narrative, which is, it's so weird, Stephen, because...
Well, hold on one second. Before we continue, I want to hear how Lindsay responds to that, because that sounds like it might be news to her, as a lot of this probably is. Lindsay, were you aware of that, or is this new to you?
I was aware of that,
okay.
And that's also something where I hear it, and all you can really say is, like, okay, I mean, I can't fight those labels that you're putting on me because you just want to put them on me, so I can't really fight back.
Yeah, it really isn't fair. And sorry, Dr. Peterson, I just wanted to clarify that point. You may continue, sir.
Oh, no problem. Well, it's been really interesting.
And that's what narcissists do on the individual level to their victims as well, to try and stop them from stopping their victims from fighting back.
Because, like, my sense is that
gaslighting.
What Lindsay recorded was an accurate subset of the sorts of things that are occurring continually on university campuses. And I think the proof of that is that Wilfrid Laurier actually hired Joel, the administrator, to conduct investigations of precisely the sort that Lindsay taped. So the faculty members, you could say, well, they kind of spun off and went in a direction that they should have known better about. And perhaps that's even forgivable in some sense, although it really isn't. But people make mistakes. But Joel herself was actually hired to do exactly what she was doing, and trained to do it, and to utter the sorts of accusations at Lindsay that she did in fact utter. And that's the thing that's most chilling, I would say.
Lindsay, let me ask you this. First off, do you have anything that you've wanted to talk about with Dr. Jordan Peterson, or say, or get off? I know this is probably been a whirlwind for you, and it's only going to get crazier. But is there anything specifically you wanted to say to the so-called Hitler they've tried to associate you with?
I guess just thank you. I mean, it's...
Oh, now you're in trouble.
Digging it deeper.
That's right. Dig up, as they say. Dig up.
I mean, through this, I've found myself to be profoundly disappointed with the left. And I almost feel like I'm being kicked out from the left side of the spectrum. So it's nice to know.
I mean, they're so radical. It's like I've heard that they're so far left, they're actually spilling into the far right. So they're more radical right than they are left, even though they call themselves left because they want to look humble, because that's what a narcissist wants to do. They want to look humble in the eyes. They want to look more progressive when they're really not, and they've gone back so far round that they've become more conservative and more in the box.
Know that there's still reasonable people, and people who want to talk about these issues and won't be, won't label people who want to talk about them.
Well, let me ask you this. That's interesting to me. We just had Donald Aguirre, founder of Indivisible Utah, who posted our Antifa video there and was just raked over the coals for it. You've just sort of identified as left more so, Lindsay. I don't want to put words in your mouth, or let's kind of use the spectrum. We'll get crap no matter what we say. If we say liberal, people say, why don't you say left? If we say left, but certainly not traditional conservative. Do you find yourself becoming less, I guess, of a leftist, or less liberal, or your political views changing, or at least a distrust growing when you...
Well, you can call yourself leftist, but the neo-Marxist / postmodernist leftists aren't leftist at all. That's something they just want you to believe. They're more far right, very narcissistic, cult-like ideology that they're spilling out into the Western culture.
See what's unfolded here. Like, was this something you were always aware of? Obviously, you recorded it, or is it something that now your eyes have been opened, that the left does this to both the right and anyone who doesn't step in line for them?
I definitely didn't know it was this bad, and especially because so much of the hate and the immature comments that I'm getting are coming from PhD students. And that's what I find the scariest thing, is because those people are going to become professors. So I'm kind of learning how bad it is, but at the same time, I don't really think I'm changing. I think it's the the political spectrum is maybe being rewritten, like as we speak.
You know, I'll toss to Dr. Peterson, but I would disagree, because I will say this. You know, I was banned from campuses in Montreal, from the colleges, CEGEPs. You know, that's where I was raised, and I would get into trouble all the time. Mike Ward was put before human rights tribunals. I mean, we're talking about, this has been going on for years. I do think, and I don't say this to be disrespectful, I think that people who are left and sensible sort of take that for granted and haven't been aware of the actual...
All right. Yeah. Okay.